Marty Thayer thought he knew his wife, Michelle. He believed he understood her completely, her thoughts, her dreams, her fears. He trusted her in a way that only someone who planned to spend their life with another person can. But sometimes, the people we trust most harbor secrets so deep, so carefully hidden, that no amount of love or devotion can uncover them. And for Marty, that trust would prove fatal. Marty grew up with ambition and honor. Born in Colorado, he was a man shaped by discipline, integrity, and a desire to serve his country. From a young age, he dreamed of flying, of protecting his nation, and of building a family built on love and loyalty. Michelle came into his life like a spark. They met in high school, young, carefree, their laughter filling classrooms and hallways. Their connection was immediate, magnetic, and everyone around them could see it. They attended the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs together, both ambitious, driven, and determined to succeed. It was here that their love story matured. Late nights studying, shared meals, and conversations about the future cemented a bond that seemed unbreakable. By 1991, they married, filled with dreams of a life together. For a time, it appeared perfect. Marty became a respected officer, known on base for his dedication and professionalism. Michelle, meanwhile, appeared to be the ideal military spouse, attending ceremonies, organizing social events, volunteering for charitable causes, and maintaining a home that reflected warmth and order. On the surface, they were the embodiment of the American dream, young, successful, and devoted. But beneath that carefully curated life, shadows were forming. Marty's career demanded frequent deployments, long hours at remote Air Force bases, and months away from home. He trusted Michelle completely, assuming she would maintain the household and handle the challenges of life in his absence. But during one of his deployments, Michelle began building a secret life in Aurora. She created online profiles, corresponding with strangers, sharing intimate thoughts and feelings that she hid from Marty. One of these relationships was with John Diamond, a fellow Air Force officer who was already married. Their connection became intimate, their interactions carefully concealed from Marty, every trace erased, every message deleted. Marty remained blissfully unaware. Over time, the affair transformed into obsession. Michelle and John began discussing ways to remove Marty from the equation. It was no longer just a hidden romance. It was a dangerous conspiracy. They considered every detail: when he would return from duty, where he would be at a particular time, how they could execute their plan with precision. December 2000 arrived, and with it, the fateful night. Marty and Michelle went out for dinner at a small local restaurant in Aurora. To Marty, it seemed like a normal evening, an opportunity to reconnect. He had no reason to suspect danger. After dinner, they drove to Michelle's office in a quiet part of town, where the streets were nearly empty. The office, usually a place of routine meetings, became the stage for a tragedy. The air was still, heavy, almost expectant. And then, the sound of a single gunshot shattered the calm. Marty Thayer, trained in defense, situational awareness, and vigilance, was dead. The person who had pulled the trigger was the woman he trusted most. And beside her, standing as co-conspirator, was John Diamond. Police were called immediately. Michelle ran to a nearby video store on East Colfax Avenue, claiming an intruder had attacked her husband. At first, her story seemed plausible, but detectives quickly noticed inconsistencies. Timelines didn't add up. Witness statements conflicted. Forensic analysis revealed evidence of premeditation and planning. This was no random act of violence. It was a carefully orchestrated murder. Detectives uncovered emails and messages between Michelle and John, chronicling months of planning. Their affair, which had seemed clandestine but relatively harmless, had escalated into a conspiracy. Every message revealed manipulation, betrayal, and intent. Michelle, once admired for her charm and poise, had plotted the death of the man she claimed to love. John Diamond, complicit in every step, helped engineer a plan that would change lives forever. Marty's colleagues at the Air Force Academy, friends from Aurora, and family members were left reeling. How could someone so close, so trusted, commit such an act? The community was stunned. The investigation revealed a web of deceit so meticulously constructed that every lie Michelle told, every gesture she made, was part of the performance designed to mislead investigators. As the pieces came together, the horrifying truth emerged. Marty had been lured into a trap under the guise of a normal evening. Michelle's charm, her intelligence, and her ability to manipulate perception had masked her true intentions. The betrayal was total. Friends, family, and colleagues were left grappling with grief, disbelief, and a sense of profound shock. Marty's story is a reminder that appearances can deceive. The person you love most may not be who you think they are. His life, cut short by betrayal, leaves us with questions about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that sometimes hides behind the familiar faces we rely on. In the next part of this story, we will explore the investigation in greater depth, the evidence that would unravel Michelle's carefully constructed lies, and the beginning of a trial that would grip not only the military community, but the nation at large. When the police first arrived at Michelle Thier's office that cold December evening, the scene seemed chaotic but contained. A man lay dead, a wife appeared panicked, and the story she told painted a picture of a violent intruder. At first glance, it might have seemed plausible, but the detectives from Aurora Police Department quickly noticed the subtle inconsistencies, the way she described the attack, the timeline she gave, and the small details that didn't quite add up. Aurora, Colorado, is a town known for its quiet neighborhoods, family homes, and sprawling suburban streets. But beneath its calm exterior, that night would mark the beginning of one of the most shocking betrayals the community had ever witnessed. Detectives began piecing together Marty's last day, retracing his steps from the Air Force Base to the restaurant where he had dinner with Michelle, and finally to the office where his life would be taken. Every movement was analyzed, every word scrutinized, and every potential witness interviewed. The first breakthrough came with the digital evidence. Emails, deleted messages, and online communications painted a picture of Michelle and John Diamond that contradicted the image she had carefully maintained. Months of correspondence revealed not only an affair, but a plan. There were discussions about Marty's routines, his likely movements, and even subtle hints about removing him from the equation entirely. What appeared to be a normal, devoted military spouse was in fact a woman orchestrating a murder with the cold precision of someone who had no moral compass for the life she was ending. Detectives expanded their investigation to include colleagues at the Air Force Academy. Marty had been well liked and respected. Everyone described him as disciplined, dependable, and loving. The contrast between the man they knew and the actions of his wife was staggering. Interviews with Michelle's friends, neighbors, and acquaintances slowly revealed her dual life. She had maintained the appearance of the perfect spouse, attending base events, hosting gatherings, and volunteering, while simultaneously communicating with John Diamond, plotting and manipulating in secret. Evidence mounted quickly. Surveillance footage, previously overlooked witnesses, and meticulous forensic analysis revealed that the murder had been carefully staged. Michelle's story about an intruder began to crumble under scrutiny. Investigators reconstructed the timeline and determined that she and John had coordinated the evening down to the smallest detail. The path from the restaurant to the office, the timing of Marty's arrival, the placement of the weapon, it all pointed to premeditation. Every lie Michelle told was now exposed under the cold light of evidence. The investigation also revealed a psychological dimension that stunned even seasoned detectives. Michelle had cultivated a persona so convincing, so trustworthy, that she had fooled not only Marty but everyone around her. Her ability to manipulate perception, to mask her intentions behind charm and social grace, was alarming. John Diamond, complicit in the act, had similarly hidden behind the discipline and respectability afforded to a military officer. Together, they had created a carefully constructed web of deception, ensuring that every action seemed ordinary while hiding the darkest of motives. As the pieces of the puzzle came together, the emotional toll on Marty's family and friends became apparent. His parents, siblings, and closest colleagues were left grappling with the incomprehensible reality. The woman he loved and trusted, the person he had built a life around, had orchestrated his death. The betrayal was total, leaving grief intertwined with shock, anger, and disbelief. By the time Michelle and John were formally questioned, the weight of evidence against them was overwhelming. Detectives presented the timeline, the messages, and witness statements in a manner that left little room for doubt. Michelle, who had initially projected fear and confusion, now faced a web she could not escape. John's involvement was confirmed through his communications and his presence at key locations. The two had conspired with chilling calculation, each step reflecting intent and cold deliberation. The story of Marty Thier's murder captured the attention of the wider Colorado community. The Air Force Academy, normally a place of discipline and order, was rocked by the realization that one of their own had been betrayed so profoundly. Local news outlets covered the unfolding investigation. Interviews with law enforcement revealed the complexity of the case, and neighbors of the Thiers were left questioning the reality of the couple they had known. In every detail, the case revealed the terrifying capacity for human deception. Marty's life had been destroyed not by chance or random violence, but by someone he had loved and trusted implicitly. The investigation painted a portrait of betrayal that was as methodical as it was heartbreaking. Friends and family struggled to reconcile the man they knew, the devoted officer, the loyal husband, the kind friend, with the murder orchestrated by the woman who had shared his life and a man who had shared her secret. As the investigation moved forward, prosecutors began to prepare a case that would expose every lie and manipulation. Each piece of evidence would be scrutinized in court. Each witness would testify to Michelle's duplicity and John Diamond's complicity. The truth of the murder would be laid bare for everyone to see. A meticulously planned betrayal, executed with the precision of people who believed themselves untouchable. Marty's story serves as a chilling reminder that appearances can deceive, that trust can be weaponized, and that the people we believe we know best can hide motives so dark they defy understanding. His life, though tragically cut short, continues to teach lessons about love, loyalty, and the darkness that can lurk behind familiar faces. In the final part of this story, the courtroom would become the stage where every secret was revealed, where justice would finally confront betrayal, and where the full human cost of deceit would come to light. The trial would expose the calculated coldness of Michelle and John, the grief and resilience of Marty's family, and the haunting reality of a love turned lethal. When the trial of Michelle Thier and John Diamond began, the nation watched with a mix of horror and fascination. The quiet streets of Aurora, Colorado, had already been shaken by the murder of Marty Thier, a decorated Air Force officer. Now, the courtroom would become the stage for revelations that no one could have anticipated. Every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal would be exposed in front of the eyes of the public. Marty's family arrived early each day, their grief palpable, their silence heavy with sorrow. Friends and colleagues from the Air Force Academy attended, paying tribute to a man whose life had been devoted to service, honor, and integrity. The courtroom was tense, every detail scrutinized, every witness testimony a step closer to revealing the true depth of Michelle's deception. Prosecutors presented the evidence meticulously. Emails between Michelle and John Diamond, deleted but recovered, were displayed. Messages discussing the murder plan, Marty's routines, and their secret affair laid bare the calculated nature of the crime. Surveillance footage, forensic analysis, and witness statements confirmed the timeline. Every action Michelle took, every step John participated in, demonstrated premeditation and intent. The two had orchestrated the murder with chilling precision. Michelle's composure in court alternated between controlled calm and moments of visible anxiety. Every detail of her life, carefully curated to project the image of a devoted wife, was laid bare. John Diamond's presence, once masked by his military rank and reputation, was shown to be complicit in every step. Together, they had manipulated appearances, relationships, and trust to achieve their deadly goal. Marty's family, watching from the courtroom, relived the horror of his final hours with every piece of evidence presented. His parents, siblings, and friends could scarcely reconcile the loving husband and son they had known with the woman and man who had betrayed him so completely. The emotional weight of the trial was overwhelming. Testimonies painted Michelle and John as cold, calculating, and utterly indifferent to the life they were destroying. The media covered the trial extensively. Local news in Aurora and national outlets reported on the shocking details. Interviews with investigators and prosecutors revealed the meticulous planning behind the murder. The community, already stunned, now witnessed the extent of the betrayal, the complexity of the conspiracy, and the human cost of deception. As the trial unfolded, the evidence against Michelle and John mounted. Each testimony, each recovered message, each witness recollection reinforced the narrative of premeditated murder. Michelle's affair, the manipulation, the plotting, it was all exposed in vivid detail. The jury, the public, and Marty's loved ones saw the full scope of the betrayal. Ultimately, justice was served. Michelle Thier was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. John Diamond, equally complicit, also received life imprisonment, and his military career was irrevocably ended. The verdict brought some measure of closure, though the grief and shock lingered in the hearts of all who loved Marty. Marty Thier's story is a cautionary tale. It reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, that trust can be weaponized, and that even the people we believe we know best may harbor intentions we cannot imagine. His life, tragically cut short, serves as a testament to integrity, devotion, and the devastating consequences of betrayal. If you found this story gripping, shocking, and thought-provoking, make sure to hit the like button, share this video so others can learn this cautionary tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real-life true crime stories that expose the darkest sides of human nature.